I am Don Stenberg. I'm your state treasurer. I'd like to thank the sponsors of this event for hosting it. I think it's important that the candidates come out and meet the people and speak directly to them rather than just having their campaign be television and radio advertising. So I'm very happy to be with you this evening. I wanted to start by telling you just a little bit about my background. Of course, I'm pretty well known as a former Attorney General, but I'm a native Nebraskan. I grew up in Tacoma, Nebraska, a town of about 1,700 people, about 40 miles north of Omaha. As a boy growing up, in order to earn money for college, I hauled bales and detasseled corn, lifeguarded at the local pool, and mowed lawns. I went to college at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, where I walked on to the varsity track team, ran the half mile for the University of Nebraska at Lincoln when I was a student there. I went back east to law school, and I have a law degree and a master's degree in business administration. I met my wife, to whom I've now been married for 40 years at the University of Nebraska. She's a farm girl from Dodge County, and we have 4 adult children and 8 grandchildren. After I'd practiced law for a few years, Governor Charlie Thone, when he was elected, asked me to serve in his administration, and so I served as legal counsel to the governor of Nebraska for 4 years, and also headed at various times the Governor's Policy Research Office, and at one time was director of the Department of Administrative Services. And as the director of the Department of Administrative Services, I was responsible for, among other things, the state car fleet, which I reduced substantially, saving Nebraska taxpayers $700,000 that year. Well, when Governor Thone left office, I was back in the private sector for 8 years, and then I was elected Attorney General in 1990, reelected in 1994 and 1998. I believe in term limits, so even though the Attorney General of Nebraska is not term limited, I voluntarily did not seek reelection after I'd served 12 years. A couple of things when I was the Attorney General. Number one, I ran a very cost-efficient office. We ran that office on the 3rd smallest budget in the United States. The other thing that I was very proud of is I had the opportunity to argue 3 cases in the Supreme Court of the United States. I didn't just sit in the audience and watch it and then have a news conference. I actually argued those cases. And the one most noted was my defense of Nebraska's ban on partial birth abortions, the Stenberg versus Carhart case. Well, after I left the Attorney General's office, I was back in private law practice here in Omaha for 8 years. And then I ran for state treasurer and was elected state treasurer with 73% of the vote. As your state treasurer, I have cut my budget by 13%. And I think that with the tremendous budget deficits we're seeing year after year in Washington, we need a proven budget cutter as our next United States Senator. And I was fiscally conservative as your Attorney General, and I've cut my budget 13% as your state treasurer. Well, this is a very important election. I think it's going to determine the direction of our nation for the next several generations, depending how the American people decide on the presidential race and the U.S. Senate races around the United States. In my opinion, the reason that we've had such a slow recovery from our recession is poor policy in Washington. And I would identify 4 things specifically. One is the tremendous budget deficits that we're running. That's taking money out of the private economy that's making it hard for the private sector to move forward. And to cure that problem, I believe we need a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution of the United States that would require the politicians of both political parties to put forward a balanced budget. And as part of that amendment, I believe that we should require that a supermajority vote would be required to raise taxes so that we're putting the pressure on the politicians in Washington to balance the budget by cutting spending rather than increasing taxes. Another problem is that the current administration has blocked energy development to a large extent. We need to get rid of the regulations, open our federal lands to energy development so that we can have lower cost energy, which will help improve our economy. I believe that we need to repeal Obamacare. It's a huge, huge new expense that's coming down the road. It's going to lead to poorer quality medical care in the future. And we also need to reduce the heavy regulatory burden on our businesses that's really making it difficult to move forward and hire more people. So those are the important things I think we need to do. And as I said, I think this is a critical election. I have a proven record as a fiscal conservative. I'm a genuine lifelong conservative. So if What you want in Washington is someone who's going to go and seriously tackle the budget as he did as Attorney General. And as a State Treasurer, I'd ask for your vote for Don Stenberg for the United States Senate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don Stenberg.